that's been damaged by violence, like Arya and all of Westeros had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of look at this a couple different ways.
Yeah, and let's also talk about how Arya interacted with the horse. She approaches it with tenderness. She pets it softly.
Yes.
You know, she's bonding with it.
She does the thing that people do with horses where they just shush them.
Yeah, and then the horse is like, I love you forever. She's like, cool, I'm going to use you as transport. But the beautiful juxtaposition we've had here is that, you know, the city is collapsing. There's huge destruction, rubble's flying everywhere. She's covered in blood and she's covered in grime. And then she's having this beautiful, soft, quiet moment through all this chaos. So that's kind of...
It's kind of a grace note to end the episode on that's been so loud and over the top with the spectacle. Just a quiet little moment. It was kind of a nice way to go out on. Well, we have a few video questions from Stardust. This is a social media app where film and TV lovers share their reactions through videos or text. This season, we were holding a contest with Stardust for 2 fans that tagged Westeros Weekly with a question about Game of Thrones to get flown out to join us to watch the finale in a special live Westeros Weekly with us. We announced 1 winner last week. We're going to announce our 2nd winner this week after we watch these selected questions.
Okay, first off, what an amazing episode. Secondly, to all the fans talking trash on this episode, you haven't been paying attention very much to the show.
Need to locate the hostage.
Thirdly, we know Daenerys is going to get offed. What do you think the Unsullied and the Dothraki and all her other followers are going to do after she is? Whether it's Arya or Jon that does it.
Yo, what's up, new rock stars? You the best. Westeros Weekly, what's up? So my question is,
Confirmed. The hostage has
what
been
happens
located.
to Drogon if we kill Dany? Does Drogon stay with Jon because Jon's a Targaryen? You don't adopt a puppy from the pound if that puppy just blew up an entire city. I just don't think Jon's gonna want to keep him, and I don't think we really need dragons anymore. Look what just happened. Holy... And Jon, dude, seriously? Do not scream at this dragon. You will die.
Visual on hostage.
Yes, good point. Now, that second clip was from user Nevin Champflu, who is the 2nd winner of the finale contest. Thank you to everyone who submitted, and remember that you can still get tickets to the finale screening and our live Westeros.
Do I play?
End of the working day. Beautiful, isn't it?
Hi, I'm Eric Fox. In Game of Thrones' second to last episode made it very clear what happens when you get in the way of destiny.
Obey your queen, Sir Gregor.
Earned. Daenerys Targaryen's destruction of King's Landing was one of the bloodiest, most horrific sequences of the entire series. And it's really hard to feel like anything matters anymore. Are we all merely children playing with our sad wooden pig car toys, waiting for Dragonfire to consume us all?
Fresh magazine!
I can't live that way. So I'm going to break down this episode with another in-depth, scene-by-scene analysis, pointing out all the subtle details that you might have overlooked. And so this is deeper layers meaning that I think we all desperately need. And before we begin, big announcement, we Rockstars will be hosting a live watch party of the Game of Thrones finale episode this Sunday, May 19th in New York City, Brooklyn's Hotel Red Lion. Check out the description for more details, and let's get started. The episode is a traffic zone on an extreme.
Reloading! Track's out. Track stingers out!
location is compromised. Get ready. 10 seconds. Down to 5 seconds. Op 4 has located the hostage. Prepare for contact.
Been tied in an increasingly elaborate braid called a jihad, a Dothraki word for the warrior's braid that only gets cut if they ever lose in battle. Danny's braid being gone now could reflect her loss, both her increasing isolation and the loss of Missandei, who man in the woods who tied his braid for Danny in the past. Really sucks to lose your only hairdresser. Danny's silver hair now dropping to her shoulders makes her look a lot more like her father, the Mad King Harris II. And some discovered disheveled, gaunt look is similar to her brother, Viserys. In either case, Danny has plunged further into the bitterness and paranoia of both her mad male relatives. So Varys was arrested and brought down to the beach because Danny warned him last season. Danny betrayed me. There's an execution by fire on this beach echoes Stannis Baratheon's executions in the same location in the name of the Red God. Both Stannis and Daenerys were unable to inspire love in their followers and forced them to appeal to fear and cruelty. But above this beach, the night sky glitters with interesting red stars. Could Varys' death here also be under the eyes of the Red God? The beach, Red Priestess Lady Melisandre told Varys, "To die in this strange country." Varys' whole life has been tied to the Red God. As a boy, sorcerer castrated him and threw his heart into the fire.
The flames held him, and I heard a voice answer his call.
In season 6, Chief Red Priestess Kinvara shook Varys by somehow knowing about this moment.
Should I tell you what the voice said? Should I tell you the name of the realms?
Varys removed his wings before getting arrested, and also showed his eyes. Both also true for Lady Melisandre back in episode 3 this season.
One Op 4 remaining.
God, and right before her death, she removed her necklace. Also, just like the Army of the Dead looming in from a wall of darkness, here, Drogon appears from the dark, and he's dark and full of terror.
Op 4 eliminated. Mission successful.
Varys' death is a bigger game changer than it seems. Not only did he the truth of Jon's identity around Westeros, Varys was always the last line of defense for the realm, innocent children. So, in a broader sense, Varys' removal exposes the realm's children to the horrors of war. We'll see how that happens this episode. Jon witnesses this execution. There's definitely some judgment in his eyes. Jon comes from the northern tradition of just executions, where, to quote Eddard Stark, the one who passes the sentence should swing the sword. Jon carried out that kind of justice on Jon of Slint and his traitorous brothers of the Night's Watch, but Dany's execution of Varys reminds him what Sam warned him about Dany executing Randall and Dickon. Now he's seeing his brash temperament firsthand. And before we move on, little detail here, Tyrion affectionately touches Varys' arm, and Varys reacts in shock. That's because Varys has rarely, if ever, been physically touched by any other character on this show. He's always been presented as this kind of ghostly, intangible, spiteful
Locate the hostage.
But in this moment, this touch reminds us that he is human and, sadly, mortal. Even more sadly, very flammable.
Hostage located.
Dany gives Grey Worm Missandei's slave collar, her one possession. Missandei kept it because it represented how Dany was the breaker of chains. But now, by burning it, Grey Worm and Dany are burning the bridge to Dany's past goal to liberate with limited bloodshed, as she did to the slaves of Yunkai and Marine. And shortly after this, she tells Jon that in Westeros, she'll never be as loved as he is. So,
Let it be fair.
when Dany and Jon kiss, she puts her hands around his neck. Actually, later in this episode,
10
Dany
seconds
inserts
before
his final
insertion.
moment. Dany embraces her the same way. And in a sign of more brotherly
Insertion
love,
in
and
5
Hamilton
seconds.
also chokes the hound. Could this mean that Jon and Dany suffered the same
Hostage
mutually assured
located.
destruction
Operational
that those
clearance
other
granted.
Targaryens did? Varys proposed this plan to have the bells of King's Landing rung when the city surrenders to call off the assault, but Dany doesn't consent to it. He just kind of gives a slight nod to Grey Worm.
Wait for me outside the city.
As for Dany and Grey Worm sacking King's Landing isn't just about strategy, it's about sloppy revenge. And later, it'll be Grey Worm who initiates that shift into Operation Scorched Earth. Spearhead plans to capture after seeing Dany and Drogon Dracarys' city. Dany's dark side is signaled by the music here. Composer for Ether Audio this episode, as so much of the episode was. And here he plays the dragon. first spot Drogon, whom we can barely make out, outlined in the sun the very first time Euron looks skyward. This partly explains how Daenerys was able to get the jump on the Iron Fleet, despite being caught with her pants down last episode. Daenerys is flying with the sun at her back. She's using the glare of the sun to blind Euron and to get a head start on the dive. Actually, in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, Gandalf similarly uses sunlight in this charge with the Rohirrim at Helm's Deep. Dany's also smart to stay low along the water, forcing the Scorpions to slowly re-aim so that she can torch them before they get their shots off. Some have also speculated that Drogon might have been more effective against the artillery than like Rhaegal or Viserion were, because he has Dany on his back, like a second set of eyes to help him duck and roll. Meanwhile, at the North Gate, the Golden Company lines up against Jon's allied forces. The Golden Company's sigil is a pile of skulls with a pike through them, the skulls representing the past captain's general. The current captain is Harry Strickland, who does not sound like a Game of Thrones character. He sounds like the guy your dad golfs with. His sole purpose this season seems to be to put a semi-recognizable face on the other side of this battle line, because Sapochnik deliberately frames Strickland the same way he framed Jon in the Battle of the Bastards in Season 6. One camera crane up shot and a later shot of Strickland facing the cavalry charge. But unlike Jon, Strickland retreats in fear, but the focus on his perspective is a tactic by Sapochnik to blur the lines between the heroes and the villains of this battle. And throughout this sequence, we will see how it increasingly devolves into a messy slaughter in which there is no clear good side. Drogon torches the defenses and the allied forces breach the city, and as Cersei observes this, Jawadi scores the Dragonfire with the Targaryen theme, but played in a minor key. So even though this feels like a victory that we should celebrate, the music foreshadows how Daenerys' bloodlust will plunge this victory into pure horror. This descent is scored with a shift in the music to this familiar tune. You might recognize this as Jawadi's Light of the Seven music. It's a theme from the Season 6 finale when Cersei watched the Sept of Baelor burn in wildfire. So using the score again here is linking these moments of terrorism. Mad Queen seizing the Iron Throne with fear and fire. The Lannister soldiers surrender and the city bells ring, which Tyrion intends as a white flag, of course, signaling the ending of further bloodshed. This episode is titled The Bells, and bells carry an interesting significance on the series. Remember in Season 2, prior to the last time King's Landing was under attack, Varys told Tyrion,
I've always hated the bells. They ring for horror. A dead king, a city under siege, a wedding. Exactly.
Indeed, bells have often been the sound of coming doom on Game of Thrones. They rang at Baelor for Ned Stark's execution. They rang the morning of the Sept of Baelor's destruction. And when Daenerys had her dragon stolen from her in Karth in Season 2, the city bells rang then too.
Where are my dragons?
And now, just as Varys predicted, these bells ring for horror once more. Daenerys eyes the Red Keep, a castle built by her Targaryen ancestors, and the castle stolen from her family, forcing her into exile and a long, brutal journey home. And unlike the others of her forces down on the street, Daenerys is alone atop Drogon, evoking another past quote from the previously on montage from Maester Aemon, Daenerys' distant relative.
A Targaryen alone in the world. It's a terrible thing.
Remember, that line ended with the foreshadowing appearance of Jon, secretly another Targaryen alone in the world, and now Daenerys' isolation has convinced her that fear is the only way to win respect of the people, so a military surrender is not enough. She feels that she needs to decimate as much of the city as possible, root and stem. There's actually a fascinating visual detail that you might have missed here, but first, thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Look, fellas, doing any grooming downstairs can make a guy feel like the Night King around Valyrian steel. You know, just one nick and, Plus, it turns out that you should not use the same razor to trim your beard that you use to trim other thing I definitely knew already. Manscaped.com is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene, with tools created by a team of aerospace engineers who are actually featured on Shark Tank. So this is the Lawnmower 2.0. It's a waterproof trimmer with a powerful 6,000 RPM motor. It has a replaceable ceramic blade head with skin-safe technology, meaning you won't get nicked or snagged or root and stemmed like Varys. Manscaped.com lets you get a replacement blade delivered every 3 months to ensure the trimmer stays hygienic. And guys, their perfect package 2.0 manscaping kit also comes with crop preserver, moisturizing deodorant, crop reviver spray, crop cleanser shower gel. They got cologne, and my favorite, this Magic Mat disposable shaving mat with comics to read in there, so you can stop flagging your Game of Thrones books. You know, nothing's more embarrassing than landing on a dance of dragons and finding your random body hairs bookmarked in certain pages.
pages.
So give Manscaped a shot. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and here's a special free gift for all of our new Rockstar subscribers. The Shed Travel Bag. Yeah, baby, you get 20% off, plus free shipping, plus this free gift with the code Rockstars20 at Manscaped.com. Okay, back to King's Landing. As Drogon soars over the city, there's this shot of a shadow over the roof, which is an image from Bran's picture vision back in season 6, which means that Bran actually foresaw the destruction of King's Landing by Dragonfire. But he has also said that the future only comes to him in fragments, so there's a good chance that Bran didn't yet fully understand what would happen, or why people keep trying to hang tire swings from him. Daenerys' charge triggers a free-for-all on the streets below. Grey Worm spears the surrendered Lannister captain. Actually, the script for this episode described Grey Worm as an angel of death, setting the religious imagery at the end of the episode, and as the Allied forces are depicted as an enemy. The project includes other shots painting Lannister soldiers as heroes, with Jon seeing one of them waving civilians to safety, looking like a firefighter. This reversal continues as Jon has to kill one of his own soldiers to stop him from raping a woman. This war was actually foreshadowed by a very dark description of the previous sack of King's Landing by Robert's forces. This is in a scene with Ser Jorah, Barristan Selmy, and Daenerys.
I was in King's Landing after the sack, Khaleesi. You know what I saw? Butchery. Babies, children, old men, more women raped than you can count. There's a beast in every man, and it stirs when you put a sword in his hand.
George R. R. Martin has always emphasized this kind of gritty realism in his depiction of war, actually critiquing J.R.R. Tolkien in the Lord of the Rings books, despite his obvious love for that series. He quibbled with Tolkien, the battle versus evil, the fate of civilization, but Martin has argued that the vast majority of wars throughout history are not like that. They're actually a lot more like the battle that we saw in this episode. So while this battle goes on, Jaime runs into Euron Greyjoy. The two right-hands for Cersei's cards have this vicious battle. Jaime ends up defeating him, but not after taking a few fatal stabs to one side. But I would say it's fitting for Euron Greyjoy, the Pirate King, to die this way after resurrecting from the water, to bring him full circle with his drowned god baptism. What is dead may never die. Drogon targets the Red Keep, blasting up the Lannister sigil in the window above the Iron Throne. Now, we aren't yet sure of the status of the Iron Throne itself, but the Red Keep is now looking a lot like Daenerys' vision of the ruined Red Keep in the House of the Undying in Season 2. What we thought was snow may actually be falling ash. If you remember, the opening credit imagery throughout the season has depicted King's Landing as clockwork, cogs in a wheel. So by destroying it, Daenerys is kind of making good on her promise to break the wheel. And nice touch here, a piece of rubble shatters Cersei's wine glass. The most heartbreaking thing for her to see, probably. Qyburn tells her to retreat to Maegor's Holdfast. That's the Red Keep bunker where she and Sansa waited out the Battle of Blackwater.
Maegor's Holdfast would be a better place to wait out the storm.
Area.
And we hear this sad music. This music is the Reigns of Castamere, normally the Lannister victory song, but played here ironically. If you think about the lyrics, the song is about Cersei's ancestor, Tytos Lannister, who decimated the rival House Rain being a double entendre in the song. They burned their home Castamere and executed every man, woman, and child of their house. That decimation has now come around to House Lannister, as Cersei was ousted by a mad queen, getting more villainous than she is. Now, one wonders if the songs are right about Daenerys. Wow, the mother of dragons burned everyone for no reason, and that's the end of the song, because we're dead. As they leave, the dragonfire consumes the city, along with these green wildfire plumes. Some are speculating these could have been traps laid out by Cersei as landmines for the invaders, or maybe false flags that Cersei set up in case Daenerys burn parts of the city and blame it on Dany. But remember, Jaime told Brienne in the bath in Season 3 that the Mad King ordered his pyromancers to place caches of wildfire all over the city. So these explosions may have been those caches finally detonating. So if you think about it, Daenerys is finishing her mad father's work with madness of her own. In the Red Keep map room, the Hound restrains Arya from going to kill Cersei, and he grabs her while they're standing on the Riverlands of the map. A nod to Sandor taking Arya captive in the Riverlands in Season 3, but also protecting her. The Hound convinces Arya to turn away from her revenge quest since Cersei's as good as dead anyway, and Arya says goodbye.
Sandor, thank you.
This is the first and only time Arya calls the Hound by his first name, paralleling the moment Jaime and Brienne dropped Jaime's Kingslayer moniker.
Jaime. My name's Jaime.
The Hound then confronts his brother Gregor, the Mountain, giving fans the Clegane Bowl we've been waiting for. The Mountain kills Qyburn, smashing him against the wall. Like it is that commoner in Season 6, and back before the events of the series, the baby of Elia Martell. Qyburn has always been a Dr. Frankenstein figure to the Mountain, so it's fitting that Frankenstein is killed by his monster here. Savashnik stages this fight on these stairs, which crumble when the upper levels of the tower collapse. So this is literally a stairway to nowhere, reflecting the fight between the Clegane brothers as aimless, without destination or prize. eyes. Just an epic cage match between two titans. The Mountain loses his helmet, revealing its bald, pale, scarred face of strongman Hafthor Bjornsson, similar to the reveal of Darth Vader's scarred face under his black armor. Gregor also strips off his chest plate because he doesn't care if he gets stabbed. It brings Gregor full circle without first Saul Bjornsson as the character, shirtless, huge, and pummeling his opponent. He grabs the Hound by the head and presses into his eyes, nearly crushing his head, just like he did to the Viper in Season 4. But before he can break all of our hearts, the Hound stabs him in the eye, just like Lyanna Mormont did to the Giant in Episode 3. And the Hound dive tackles his brother through the wall, into the fire, similar to Frodo tackling Gollum, and the ring into the fire of Mount Doom. So the Hound dies by finally confronting a sphere of fire and letting it consume both himself and his greatest enemy, the brother who gave him the skulls. Cersei and Jaime reunite in the map room, the last place they saw each other at the end of last season, and as the building crumbles, a crack forms across the map floor of Westeros, separating the southern half of Westeros from the Riverlands of the northern half. This could be foreshadowing the new dividing line that's forming between Daenerys in the south and the other realms like Sansa in the north. Arya wanders the chaotic streets outside in a long, unbroken tracking shot. It's hard to watch. There's death and carnage everywhere. She gets trampled and helped to her feet by the same short-haired mother. After more collapsing buildings and rubble, she later wakes up with a nasty head wound. All this chaos here was actually designed to evoke the infamous firebombing of Dresden in World War II, which, much like Dany firebombing King's Landing, was an air raid on what the Allies considered to be an enemy city. But the bombings famously led to high civilian casualties and have been critiqued by many historians as unnecessary. But Daenerys' behavior here is clearly nothing short of war crimes. Her dragon represents the power of nuclear weapons in our world. The ability to level an entire city. It's very much an unfair advantage. Actually, the mother and daughter who saved Arya are found as charred corpses, evoking the way human remains were found in the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the volcanic eruption of Pompeii. Many are saying the imagery here also evokes the 9/11 terrorist attack. Ash and blood, piles of rubble, collapsing buildings, ash wafting through the air, and burn victims jumping from buildings. Really, no matter what historical lens you look at this, Sapochnik wanted our empathy to be solely with the victims of this city. You'll notice Daenerys doesn't utter a single word in the entire sequence. And actually, the tower that nearly collapses on Arya is the bell tower that Daenerys earlier ignored. You can actually hear the ring of that bell when it crashes to the ground by Arya. So, Daenerys bypassing the bells isn't just a metaphorical FU. Her destruction literally weaponizes one of these bells against her allies. Also, I couldn't find it, but somewhere among the streets of King's Landing, Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers makes a cameo. Said he plays a commoner helping a woman, then makes a run for it. Down in the dungeons, Cersei and Jaime find their path blocked, and as Cersei accepts her fate, the light of the 7 piano notes return briefly. But as Jaime tells her, nothing else matters, only us. The music transforms back into the Reigns of Castamere. So, haunted by her decision to play with fire, this Lannister queen now pays the price for angering an even more fiery queen, the descendant of the dragon skulls that now close in on her. Jaime Lannister, meanwhile, dies the way he told Ron he always wanted to die in Season 5.
Now, do you want to go?
Now, I agree, it was really frustrating to see Jaime leave Brienne behind and join his toxic sister in death here. But despite Jaime's redeeming moves over the years, I guess Jaime remains addicted to Cersei. And like any addict, the risk of relapse is high. Jaime ends the series with a cautionary tale, like Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. Another sometimes redemptive addict who ends up ending it all clinging to his impressions. But I agree, it's a bummer. It brings us back to the shock by her apocalyptic surroundings, looking like the last person on Earth. Jawadi scores this chaos with screeching strings, which, as Arya collects herself, the notes into the house. Arya finds the mother and daughter from before, but now they're dead from dragon fire. A white horse. Well, it used to be white before Drogon ruined it. And then, as if by magic or some divine spiritual force, the white horse appears. Some say this actually looks like Captain Strickland's horse from earlier in the episode. Not sure about that, but this horse brings up some key symbols. Revelation there on the full horseman of the apocalypse. The white horse, conquest or victory. The red horse, the black horse, family.
Swapping next.
Arya writing the horse to be the pale horse or ashen horse in some translations.
One friendly operator remaining.
Horse, and he who sat on it had the name
All
Death.
friendly
Arya
have been
is an
eliminated.
embodiment of death, carrying the power of the many-faced god. But we should point out that this horse is actually white, and he's covered in red blood. And the girl's toy horse is all 4 horsemen are present in this scene. Some are speculating that this horse could be Bran, morphing into a horse to help Arya. But I mean, Bran is animal that Bran finally decides to warg into, and not, dragons. But the final image of Arya presents a mix of hope and despair. Arya appears to be fleeing the conflict, taking the Hound's advice to release herself from vengeance. But let's remember, Arya's past as a many-faced god and the ashes of King's Landing do echo some important history. And